finally got some clarity and I wanted to take a minute to share it with you. This is in follow-up to a recent video I shot. I think it was called, Is This the Seeker's Journey? Where I was feeling really stuck between my conceptual understanding of something and the embodied knowing of it. And I'm just going to draw a little picture to help bring this to life for us. So concept to, we'll just say knowing. I realized what I was doing, and huge shout out and thank you for the handful of you who commented on the YouTube video, who gave your insight, and then to my personal friends and spiritual mentors. Thank you, because it was so, I just realized this is a pattern that I create for myself, and maybe you'll relate to this. Inside of this, so if you didn't watch the video, just the essence, like I was creating a gap between intellectual knowledge of something, right? Like I can understand the concept. I get that this is what it's like to awaken ourselves, right? To come back to that source of truth. But I was creating a lot of energy in being inside of this gap space, right? And it's like, okay, how do I move from this to the knowing, right? And what I recognized, the learning, the insight that I had was, where was my focus? Was my focus on the knowing and embodying that knowing, or was it focused on, the gap? And I realized it's kind of like this essence, like, are you focusing on the healing, or are you focusing on the illness? Because if you're focusing on the illness, that illness just could feel overwhelming. It's a lot. It could create more layers of stress, and you might be using force and effort to try to heal the illness, and like you're trying to make it go from big to small, and that's just a lot of effort, right? But this concept of surrender and trust that I've been actively working on, I realized I fell back in the trap of focusing on the illness, so to speak, right? But focusing on the gap and not truth. Because if I conceptually really believe that we are all one, we are all light, that I am already my highest self, that I don't need to go do anything more, I don't need to go attain anything, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to attain, that I am already everything I desire to be, that was the kind of click I had, was, I was getting sucked back into the not having versus the trusting that I am already all of this. And so I shifted my focus from the illness to the truth. And I was even like reflecting on my own journey and I invite you guys to do the same when you're stuck in these patterns. Like, look back. This is the power of appreciative questions, which I talk about in my community wisdom burst section, if you haven't walked through that playlist yet. But looking back, what has already worked well? When was the time that I did feel lit up? Because I was finding myself in this like period of time now where, okay, it's been a couple days and I'm not feeling at my best. I'm like kind of in this slump, right? And so I almost took a moment, a pause to reflect and study, what was I doing when I was feeling at my best? And I realized the doing was me being my highest self, was me trusting. And it was like I was so caught up intellectually on literally deciphering and breaking apart and overanalyzing, any overanalysts in the room, overanalyzing how to be exactly that highest self. That in the overanalyzing, I wasn't being the highest version of myself. Like, I hope you guys are following this. So the insight, the clarity I gained was, let it all go. Stop trying to figure out the how, because that's a default mode that my lovely intellectual brain has. And instead start to just embody the being. Let me give you another visual that came up for me when I was thinking of this. So it's like, I'm going to pick the color brown because it's like a poopy color. This is what it felt like for me the last couple of weeks, right? Like, I'm not being the highest version of me. And how do I go get this, like happy-go-lucky, beautiful, you guys can't see the yellow, but you get it, right? I realized instead of trying to spend my time here, this is what I've been practicing. I get to layer on the highest version of me. Or said another way, and I have another video on this, on like, what is the actual journey of surrender? It's actually removing that brown layer, because all we are is this golden light, right? And removing the brown layer of the ego, of the doubt, the skepticism, of the uncertainty, of the fear, of the worry. The list goes on, right? So instead of falling trap to the illusion, which this all right here is the illusion, right? Doesn't exist. That's all my mind's games, just trying to keep me stuck in this brown state of being, right? You guys follow so far? I am letting go of that, trying to figure it out, and tuning in to, this highest version of me. So that was a big aha. I know it's so simple, and I tend to overcomplicate it. I'll give you one final drawing of, it's funny because I was in a journaling reflection the other day, and this kind of visual came to me as I was drawing. I'm like, man, why does my journey feel like I'm always moving from one thing and like getting sidetracked? And it's almost like I'm doing this thing where it's like I go out here and I'm like, okay, I come back, and then maybe I focus on my health. Maybe I get sidetracked and I start focusing on my business. Maybe I'm focusing on family, whatever it might be, right? You guys are kind of seeing this image come to life, right? And I realized that that's just part of what makes. So like, this is like when you feel like you're getting distracted, right? You're moving quote unquote off course, but you're never off course. You're always actually on the right path, because you're always, in my case, I notice I'm always coming back to what matters most to me, which is a powerful question to ask yourself if you haven't sat with that. What matters most to me in this moment? And to me, it's truth. And I realized in order to make this beautiful flower of my life, I know it's like a little 5-year-old drawing, but hey, not here for art, though it's fun to play with. What I recognize in my journey is every time that I take these kind of detours or different paths, all intentional to come back stronger, more connected, more clear. And sometimes it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize I was taking a detour on this particular one, right? But that as I'm coming back through, and I always come back to, in my case, for its source. It's coming back to my truth, my highest self. So I just wanted to give you another visual in case that is relevant or relates to how you might be seeing it for yourself too, but just trusting holistically that we're always cared for and we're always being guided, and we are always, again, right here. We're always the home base. It's like it's always, the foundation's always there. So that was my little insight of clarity. Hopefully you enjoyed this little wisdom burst. If you haven't yet subscribed, this is the first time I think I'm asking, but would love for you to subscribe and share these videos. Really supports me to have this outlet to share, just as I'm reflecting on my own journey of healing and emotional mastery and just growing alongside of each of you. It's really fun to do this in community. I'm also very passionate about community. So I've got 2 playlists if you haven't checked them out. One of them is all about these wisdom bursts, more the inner work, and one is all about community wisdom bursts. How do you bring healing to a community from a collective perspective as a facilitator, as a leader, as a change agent? If you guys are guiding groups of any kind, I invite you to check those videos out as well. But with that, be well, my friends. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.